There is a famous quote which says, "A letter always arrives at its destination." Which letter and what destination? We should be conscious about the double entendre that exists between the letter as a written message and the letter as an alphabetical symbol. Every alphabetical symbol, W for example, is a message that is in the way to its destination. It is hard to think that the letters by which we write our words and letters, the letters by which we index into our meanings, are meaningless themselves. In the same way, it is hard to find another word for wave, with the same sense conveyed by the word wave, but not starting with a W, a W. The first letter of every word confers its aura, or shadow if you want, to the rest of the word. The rest of the word determines the modality of the word, that is, the way that the get up and go delivered from the first letter as the source should be handled to reach into its final destination. So, the first letter is the message and the last letter is its written destination, the way that the echo of the first letter should be damped and faded. What we are talking about is neither esoteric nor scientific, it is poetic. The letters lend themselves only to a poet. Every letter, every word is addressed to an absent poet. This is why they are called letters. Remember that the word letter means also the letter, an absent landlord who lets or rents his property to the others for use. Most of the people go inside the letters, literature, or language as a rental property and use it like a prison. They are spelled by the magic of the words because they employ the words as an explicit, unmistakable index to something else outside of language. But poetry is something that happens in the words and not by the words. Then, it is just the poet who can break the spell and make out the original secretive message and change the language into what it is. A house. As it is said by a known philosopher that language is the house of being, and every house has a door that lets you freely walk inside and outside. Otherwise, it is a prison. For example, if you stuck or focus too much to your beliefs as a set of learned symbols and conceptions. Actually, every word has at least one password that by saying it, it will become inside out and lets its message open. Because the world outside never stays the same while this internal cognitive change takes place. This is the art of seeing as instead of seeing that. The art of seeing a pipe as a pipe. Or a boat as a boat. And go with it. This makes the plastic world unbelievably elastic and fluid. The world around us becomes also fluid as soon as we start to walk. The fruits of walking never falls far from the tree of poetry, and perhaps this is the way that we as poetical entities, words of the creation and also smith of the words, are supposed to dwell on the earth. Wandering and wandering, to live in the world as a house instead of a prison, free and poetic, free for coming in and going out. Is that very far star that starts from your skin and the doorsteps of your house in which you are dwelling? Follow your star. It is an old wisdom which says your body does not end here on your skin. It ends in the most far star. This is how the oracle can never read your destiny from your star. Similarly, all letters found in words like have their own meaning in astrology. The poetical measure of the word has astrological scales. Actually, they make constellations when they cross each other by sharing a letter. They address us to the place that the letter should arrive as its destination, but we as poetical entities can just proceed toward it just by walking. Only that. Wisdom and walking are two old friends that were used to meet each other in woodways and blind alleys. For Hölderlin, poetry was also deeply connected to wandering and walking. A similar Greek word, peripatetikos, refers to the act of walking. After Aristotle's death, a legend arose that he was a peripatetic lecturer, that he walked about as he taught. This legend reflects the strange relation that exists between wisdom and walking. Gorilla Walk is a project that provides the same unforeseen effect of visiting a lost old friend. Before going through it, let us make a test that I learned from the internet. First of all, name the following brands that come. Well done. Now, try to name the following leaves or plants. It slaps into our face with reality, isn't it? Gorilla Walk is a way back to our roots. It's a few days vision in nature. In between, the participators can spend their time alone inside the nature. For doing this, they receive wild training. Gorilla Walk project coaches a group of young boys by a group of experienced men in 2 or 3 intensive days and nights in the forest. Gorilla Walk takes a full weekend. The participators avoid cellular phones, alcohol, and so on. It is a good opportunity to take a clear look into the important issues of life. At the end, each person can talk about his motivation and truth or Wahrheit without being evaluated, and all in all, inside the frame of a secure grouping. The first stage of Gorilla Walk is to learn how to survive in nature while training. For example, how to cut out a spear with a simple knife, how to make a shelter with a simple flowsheet and how to build up a tent. These are crucial tools for survival inside the woods, especially for the last night, in which they are supposed to sleep alone in their own place or territory, deep in the forest. The second stage is the future work. There are 3 doors that only one of them is preferable. Future work is a method to help the next generation to find clearly their own way in life and to build their own future by drawing a palpable vision out of it. And the next stage is territorialization, to find out a proper place to sleep for a night. It solely depends on the feeling of each young man that is completely different from one to one. Finally, they go inside the wild nature and they spend the night in their place, in their extended body, in their territory, just like a gorilla in the wild forest. At the morning, the young boy has been born into a new man, shining by the unseen rays and aura of wisdom. The elder men say welcome to these men who are coming back from their own extended self. In the last gathering, they may or may not share their feelings and thoughts about this self-experience with the other men of the group. Now the time of this perlude is over. It is time to go for further considerations. It is time to go much deeper into the issue. Walk with me inside the next issue. See you at the beginning of the time when the human was still not lost in the false address, awaiting for a letter that shall never come, to the time that the human was still not lost in the next issue, to the time that the human was still not lost in time.